Good evening, everyone! Welcome back once again to Vicious Raps. And of course, I'm your host, your YouTube messiah, and often imitated, never duplicated superstar Tim Vicious, and gonna go over Raw this week. Was in the ThunderDome. No, the Vince McMahon impressions have not gotten old yet, but before we do, news did go this morning and even on during the episode of Raw. Tickets are going to be going on sale by next week for WrestleMania. So, you know, and I say this in the most positive aspect as possible. While the fact that AEW is doing open shows, and now WWE is opening up their pay-per-view to the general public. I'm not talking the NXT stuff, because NXT, you know, obviously they got to have their crowds tested, and, you know, they use also a small bit of stock footage from the ThunderDome, and I'm pretty sure they'll do that with WrestleMania too. But the fact that WWE is starting to open up the doors a little for Mania puts a smile on my face, because it's given me a small sense of hope in the fact of we're taking a step in the right direction, trying to get back to the way things were before this time a year ago when the world went to shit. Because honestly, that's the best way you can that's honestly the only way you can put it, because my son didn't even know on how to ask me, Dad, how do you talk about this time? Well, easy enough, buddy. Everything went to shit. That's all it is, plain and simple. And I'm not going to get into arguments or get into a philosophical conversations about on how with that or anything in regards to it, but yeah. So big ups on that. Really happy on that. Also, they did announce effective March 18th. That is when the network is moving to Peacock. So, like I've said before, the way the whole thing with Peacock is, I kind of see some pros. I see a lot of pros in it more than outweighing the cons. Now, is there going to be a transitional period where we're going to have hiccups and fuck-ups? Oh my God, yeah! I mean, Christ, how many screw-ups were there going from pay-per-view to network? Netflix, of all people. How much screw-up was going on with them when they were putting more focus on streaming as opposed to being disc-based? You know, you're going to have that transitional gap. It's going to suck and it's going to hurt. But think of it like this. Even if you don't do the $9.99 ad-free one, and I'm just plucking random example, you do the $5. You do the $5.99 one. So, you could do the pay-per-view, you get the WWE Network, everything that's in the Peacock library, and everything that the $5.99 tier gets you. So, after I'm done watching WrestleMania, I could then go watch Punky Brewster, or Saved by the Bell, or if I so feel inclined, The Office or Parks and Rec. I'm not really seeing too much of a downside, because, don't get me wrong, obviously I love wrestling, otherwise I wouldn't be on here, but you know, I have other interests too. You know, so, hey, if you could ball everything into that, if you could ball some of those basic interests into that, into one streaming, into one's network, fuck, I'm sold. So, yeah. That said, now that we're done on that, let's switch gears, talk about last week via the SmackDown Rewind. Big highlights from last week's SmackDown. Like I said last week, they built it up and it's now official. Daniel Bryan went against Jey Uso in a cage match If Daniel Bryan won, he got to face Roman at Fastlane for the Universal title. And Daniel, I should say, cut a very, very hard and heavy, passionate promo talking about on how he is more determined now than he ever was, even couple all the way back before he won his first world title. WWE did these psychological eval tests on people, and they said he is the most unmotivated person there. He just is like perfectly content being where he's at. You know, no ambition, nothing like that. And now he's saying he's got an ambition. He's got fire. He wants the title because in the last 3 months, he has wrestled more matches than Edge or Roman Reigns put together than they have in the last 3 months. And he wants that shot at the Universal title at WrestleMania because he knows he may not have any more. I get you're trying to build with that. The smart man sees that. The common fan may see, oh, does that mean he may be leaving soon? I will say this about that. Don't get me wrong, love Daniel Bryan, hell of a worker, really good in the ring, can cut a good promo, amazing in the ring. Really love him. However, I have been iffy about him coming back into the ring ever since his return because of after he announced his retirement, he went on this big, long interview tour talking about stuff. He did one with ESPN talking about on how he was hiding concussion seizures. You know, and it worries me thinking, my God, this guy's brains got turned into scrambled eggs more times so bad on so many different occasions. He hid seizures from his bosses so that way he could continue to compete, and it's just, yeah. And I can't help but think, like, what the fuck? I understand he's medically cleared, and the docs say, yeah, medically he's good to go, but I just can't help but think, like, you know, seriously? I mean, I understand they made a specific protocols just for Bryan and Bryan alone, given the circumstances, but just, it's still, it's a big worry for me. I don't know the ins and outs, so I'm not going to say they're right or wrong. I'm just saying from my perspective, that's a worry. Either way, like I said, it's going to be the fluffer match for going from Fastlane into WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan versus Roman, and then we're going to eventually get Roman versus Edge, the true spear versus spear WrestleMania match we wanted, as opposed to what they were going to give us last year, Goldberg versus Roman. I can only imagine on how bad Roman would have had to carry him. Other than that, Gable went against Dominic, which was a damn good match. Bianca Belair went against Shayna Baszler one-on-one, which was to help build up the tag team match coming up at Fastlane. Cesaro went against Buddy Murphy of all people, who looks like is attempting to try and get back into good graces of Seth Rollins, and yeah, Murphy, dude, seriously, you slid into the girl's DMs who was just barely old enough to get out of high school, and then when your Messiah catches you on it, now you want back in with him? Dude, not a good look for you. But yeah, that was pretty much the highlights from SmackDown. So with that said, let's get into this week's show, Raw. It starts off. They show highlight reel from earlier in the day. Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business coming in. Lashley talking about on how he busted his ass for 16 odd years. Working, sweating, bleeding, making town to town. Busting his ass to earn the WWE Championship. He's got the title now, and paraphrasing, but he said basically to quote Dusty Rhodes, I am the king of the mountain and it is going to take a hell of a man to knock me down. Lashley put something out there along those lines. Then we get Miz coming out to the ring. He cuts a hell of a promo. And, you know, say what you want about The Miz, but he is a hell of a chicken shit heel that can work his way into any situation. That's the cold hard truth. He talked about on how he busted his ass. He works day in, day out, non-stop, never takes a day, doesn't request time off, doesn't get injured, doesn't get, is always there, is a constant workhorse, always there whenever at their beck and call. He asked for a little time, couldn't get it. He said he wasn't feeling good. He had cramps, as he so gracefully emphasized on it. Felt horrible, still forced to compete. So he had to compete that night. Not once, but twice, and then in the second time in a lumberjack match. So, it looks like Miz is starting to dip back into the old because I'm the Miz and I'm awesome kind of bit, because he ended his promo like that. And then out came Lashley, who had a hell of a fucking entrance. Lightning and highlight reel and just, God damn, pal. Make him look like a fucking god. So yeah, Lashley came out with MVP, and Lashley, very much so like you would expect, dominated and destroyed Miz. Full Nelson, beat Miz to a pulp. Yeah. That was it. Afterwards, you saw McIntyre backstage watching it and then getting interviewed, saying on how he feels he should be next in line for the WWE title. And then Sheamus comes out, beats him up. We get a whole big shaky cam look on it. Like, goddamn, this ain't an Evil Dead movie, guys. We don't need a shaky cam like that. But, yeah. Afterwards, then you see Drew McIntyre corner Adam Pearce, who then says he wants a one-on-one match with Sheamus, no holds barred. So then we fast forward to that. Now we got Sheamus versus McIntyre, this time in a no holds barred match, which, as much as I said last week, reminded me of me and my brother in a fight. This one was just as physical. Didn't remind me of me and my brother. This one more so, like I said last week, reminded me of like the bar fight in The Quiet Man, as opposed to last week. Yeah, an angry, jacked up Scotsman fighting an angry, jacked up Irishman. We may want to brew a pot of coffee because this is going to take a while for these two to get there to deal with these issues. This was just very, very, just, oof. It was bowling shoe ugly, but in a good way. Drew snuck Sheamus right as he was coming out doing his entrance. Once the big lights hit, fell off, whoop, got snuck. And then, yeah, it was just brawling non-stop all over the, wouldn't say the arena, but all over where the ringside area. It was just non-stop mayhem, and I fucking loved it. Didn't see a whole lot of use of weapons. You saw a Singapore cane and a chair. That was about it. But the way the match came to an end, it was kind of a schmaz finish, but I could see potential in it building to something later. It came to, they both had stairs propped up like this, where the stairs were actually covering their face, and then they ran into each other, and it was basically like, kind of like that one episode of The Simpsons where you saw Homer and Bart both wearing pots on their heads and ramming each other full steam like two bulls, like, boom, like that. Yeah. And then McIntyre went over the barricade, and Sheamus just dropped to the ground. The ref went and checked both. Can you compete? Can you compete? Hey, can you compete? Can you compete? Ring the bell. Ring the bell. End the match. I need medical attention out here now. And then they took them both away. Next matchup we got Xavier Woods going against Shelton Benjamin. And first off, mad props to Xavier Woods and Kofi coming out with Mortal Kombat-like gear. Mortal Kombat-inspired gear. Kofi with Scorpion. Xavier Woods with Sub-Zero. Now, honest to God, if Big E was there, 10 get you 20, Big E would have been dressed as Reptile. That's just personal prediction, though. If we see Big E with Reptile gear coming up this Friday, though, then y'all know I was right. Either way, though, Woods, Shelton Benjamin, this was a damn good match. Benjamin was pretty much dictating the pace, you know. It was a decent enough match, and then the ending. It's the kind of ending I always say I hate. I just wish it could have led to something a little more, because Benjamin was arguing with Kofi on the outside, and then Woods roll up, inside cradle, roll up, and then 1, 2, 3, just ugh. And this match was the lead into next week. Next week, they're going to do a tag title match between the Hurt Business and the New Day, which probably is going to then lead to a match at Fastlane, and then more than likely a match at Mania. So, it's that time of year, folks. We see one match in March lead to the big match in April. Next up, we got Riddle, which is the honest-to-goodness worst representation for the stoner community since that dude with the giant bushy hair that was in Josie and the Pussycats. Yeah, that's right, I just fucking went there. And Riddle going against SlapJack. One of these days I'm against SlapJack's name right, from Retribution. And it was announced right as Riddle was coming down. Next week, Riddle's going to be defending his U.S. title against Ali. So they're doing a lot of moving and shaking to try and build, hey, while this is good, tune into next week. So kind of seeing a little bit of a old school, or not, don't want to say old school, wrong choice of words. Shades of like Monday Night War, making this is good, but make sure to tune into next week also in this sense. And Riddle was pretty much leading the pace on how it was. SlapJack wound up had some nice time to shine, but all in all, Riddle wound up leading the match, got the win, doing a running knee into the bro Derek. Afterwards, Ali, you could hear him chastising SlapJack, saying, "You're worthless, you're useless, why do I keep you around, this, that, and the other." Yeah. So now we come to women's action, and Naomi and Lana finally getting their tag title match that they won the #1 contendership to a good month or so ago against Shayna and Nia, which then Nia Jax also introduced. She had Reginald, Carmella's former Savantier or whatever it is. Basically the fancy wine bitch. And I call him that because, well, he's at whoever hires him's beck and call, and he knows a lot about wine. All I honestly know about it is it's either red or white, and that's about it. Back in my old drinking days, I stuck to the simple basics. I had beer or whiskey. That was it. Oof. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about that drinking shit no more. But either way, introduced Nia has now hired Reginald because Carmella fired Reggie last week, which I forgot to mention in the SmackDown Rewind. That's a my bad, folks. But as far as the match goes, it was your run-of-the-mill match. The faces were leading early on before end of the break. Post-break, heels wore. Lana was the punching bag. And then Naomi got the hot tag, started trying to pick up momentum. Looked like she tried to hit Shayna with her rear view finish, but it looked like, man, the way the camera caught it, it looked like she missed her by like a fucking country mile, dude. And then went after Nia. It was a good match, but nothing to really write home about. That's the best I can say on it. Match came to an end when Nia did the one-handed powerbomb to Lana, and this was after when Naomi was still in the ring. She was building momentum. She went to go bounce off the ropes. Reggie just, oop, clip you. Didn't fall or none, but he was just like, hey, yeah. And then Lana tagged herself in, so that way Naomi could then go after Reggie. And then while doing that, then Lana then did a basement drop kick to Reggie, and then after that they got up, hugged, embraced. Yeah, girl power, teamwork, all that good shit. Oh my God, behind you! Then Lana crashes into both of them, and then Nia did the one-handed power bomb to Lana. Yeah. So now we come to main event of the night. AJ Styles, Uncle Allen in the house ski hoots, going against Randy Orton, and this came to be because AJ was getting interviewed backstage and then was talking about on how all the crazy stuff Randy has been dealing with, and saying, hey, Randy already says he hears voices, man, and now he's got to deal with all this kind of crazy stuff. Makes you wonder where the guy's sitting at, And yeah, I'm paraphrasing, mind you. And then Randy shows up. You think I got issues? Think I ain't all the way there? Why don't you test me? Meet me in the ring. I'll see you out there. So now we come to this match. This was a damn good match, and all in all, I gotta say, it was a damn good show. It was more build-up with promos than matches, but hey, it is what it is. We wound up getting more build-up with Shane and Braun Strowman, which was ugh. But it was, we had more promo and build-up, but it's that time of year again, though. This was good in a weird way. It was a good kind of different. That's what I'll say on the show. But as far as this match goes, nice back and forth at the start. AJ was trying to work on Randy's leg to soften it up for the calf killer. Had some nice little back and forth with each other. More so as the match went on near the end. It was back and forth at the start. And then AJ had some. AJ was dictating the pace for a minute. And then Randy was. Not like back and forth. I move, you block, I move. That kind of shit. And then they went back and forth. And then match came to an end when Randy, he was getting ready to size up. And then Omos pulled him out. Or no, that was earlier in it. Omos pulled him out. But yeah, at one point, Alexa Bliss then does her shit, appears on the Titantron, sitting there in all of her cute little creepy manner, which pretty sure every guy on Twitter, anytime she shows up at this point, is like, I'm kind of scared, but I kind of got a boner at the same time. Yeah. Pretty sure that's every guy on Twitter at this point whenever Alexa Bliss shows up. She's sitting there in a little pentagram in a cute, creepy way, playing with a jack-in-the-box. Dun, 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 dun. No, you're not ready yet. Which, putting it out there now, I'm hoping I speak it into existence. The Fiend shows up on the Fallout Raw, surprises Randy, and then from that Raw until we get build up between Fiend and Randy for WrestleMania. That's me. Hoping I speak that into existence, but She does that and then goes and does more of her hoodoo voodoo magic, strikes the match, blows it out, and then you see Pyro go off and then, what? Starts spewing out black shit again. Turns around, boom, gets clipped with a phenomenal forearm. 1, 2, 3. That is it. Stick a fork in him. He is done. That is it for this show, folks. So yeah, that's it for Raw. Like I said, it was weird, but it was a good kind of weird, and I dug it. So that is it for this week's show. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and go back watch some of the other shows when you can. Look for me on the Twitter at Tim Vicious. Also on that Facebook gimmick, Tim Ash. If you're gonna look for me on my Facebook gimmick, let me know you found me on there from here, or my Twitter at Tim Vicious. On the day guy Creep John Gone. Thank you to contributor to the show, LFC Lingerie Fighting Championship. There are a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of MMA, and a whole lot of attractive women wearing a little bit of nothing. Also, thank you to executive producer of the show, Ali Ray Ben, who did provide the music for this week's show. Make sure y'all check it out. It's on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, all that good shit. Details are down below. Also, folks, make sure y'all look for these cool-ass cats right on the Twitter as well as the Mulligan Kenny Killer, DSB_IV, Diabolica RA, and Sergeant Curry Pants. But folks, like I always tell y'all, you love me great, you hate me. Fuck you.